what Apple announcements would make you pull out your credit card, and some credit card hacking outrage. This is MacVoices. Today's MacVoices is supported by MacVoices After Dark. Uncensored, off-topic, and always off the wall. MacVoices After Dark is available as a benefit to our Patreon subscribers. Sign up at patreon.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is MacVoices Live. It's Tuesday night. It is 8 p.m. Eastern, actually a little bit after, but that's the way it goes. 5 p.m. Pacific, a little bit after, but that's the way it goes. Whatever time it is, wherever you are, a couple minutes after, that's the way it goes. We are live on YouTube. We'd love to have you come over and join us in the YouTube chat at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. Tonight, we are going to talk about the upcoming Apple event from a little bit different angle. Just as we are recording this right now, they just announced today that there will be a live product announcement event on September 14th. So we could go over rumors and all the stuff that you all can read anywhere and everywhere and the endless speculation. Instead, I've asked the panel to take a look at the possible potential product announcements and tell us what it is that would cause their credit card to come out of their wallets. What did they want to see in any of the new product updates? So if we touch on rumors, it might only be because one of the panelists agrees with some of the rumors or hopes for one of the rumors, but the idea here is what we want to see come out of this. But before we do that, I do want to bring up something. Last week, well, first of all, I'm going to paste this link into the chat room. It was reported on the Mac web today that 94% of U.S. iPhone customers do not use Apple Pay. All right. And folks, I really want you to use Apple Pay, and I want you to tell your friends to use Apple Pay. And then I want you to go out and find the people you hate most and tell them to use Apple Pay. Because last week, my credit card got hacked. And it was hacked, pretty much narrowed it down to exactly when it was hacked. And the day it was hacked, I had only made 3 purchases. One of them was online to a site that did not use Apple Pay. One of them was to buy gas. And so it's not impossible that there was a skimmer on there. And the third was at a restaurant, which did not take Apple Pay. So I got to tell you, if you just can up your security game just a little bit and don't go through the 2 hours worth of discussion I had with my credit card company about, what the purchases I had made were and why I did not buy $600 worth of Disney World tickets, which was what flagged the purchase after a $300 purchase that had gone through and that the credit card company had accepted. The subsequent $600 one was the one that triggered it. And there was also like a nickel 98 DoorDash that apparently the scammers had tested things to see if they could actually do it. So Apple Pay may not be the solution to everything, but Apple Pay can be the solution to a lot of things. So please, if you have an iPhone, learn how to set up Apple Pay and use it. And at this point, yes. I'll open things to anybody in the group that wants to have had similar experiences, because I just feel so strongly about it, and the wound is still open right now.
I feel strong about it too. I use Apple Pay all the time. If I'm going to a terminal, I use my Apple Watch. If I have to use my iPhone, I probably use my Apple Watch more than I use my iPhone when it comes to charging things, because it's just so convenient, so easy to charge things. So I don't pull out my phone. I must just go and do that. There's no conceivable reason why anybody thinks that it's not secure. And like you said, Chuck, you got those gasoline skimmers, and you got the skimmer, the readers on the pumps. Even though a lot of cards these days have chips, I don't feel as safe using them. If there's a pump there, I can use my Apple Pay and pay for gas. So absolutely crazy. Why I can't believe only 6%
I can. And part of it is because I think a lot of people still think that it's basically like you've taken a picture of your credit card and that's what you're using. And if anyone were able to get a hold of your phone, then they would have all of your information. And that's not true. And that's the thing that I think most of the time doesn't get explained. It's just, people say use Apple Pay, it's great, but they never say, like, it's actually more secure because it's using a pretend, so to speak, credit card number when you're doing that. First of all, like, Chuck, if what happened was a skimmer to you, that gets bypassed. Anybody that's trying to snoop on tap to pay traffic, which, any sort of contactless payment, that only works a couple of inches. If you've ever tried to use contactless payment like Apple Pay or anything else, you'll notice that if, like, even on the terminal, like if you put your watch on the wrong side of the terminal, it doesn't even register because it has to be within a couple of inches of that. So if anybody, you're going to notice if somebody's trying to get in between the traffic of your arm and the credit card terminal. So that's another way it's safe. Also, it's contactless. And if you have a watch, you don't have to use your passcode or anything to use Apple Pay. So it's even faster. So like if you do have it set up on your phone, do set it up on your watch. I don't want to bore people with the details of how the tokens work and everything, but like you end up with what is essentially a pretend credit card number, like I said, and then you can pay with passcode on your phone, if you have a mask on or something, but you don't have to worry about any of that with your watch. So if you have a watch, or maybe this is a good reason to get a watch, is you can set up you can set up the wallet on the watch with all of your cards, and then you just bonk your arm on the thing. You get the added bonus of sort of feeling like you live in the future because you wave your arm at the thing and you bought stuff and you can leave, which is great. I still enjoy that years later, but there's a whole lot of security that goes into that transaction. And it is so far, nobody who's had a credit card number stolen, nobody who's had identity theft or anything like that has ever had it come as a direct result of an Apple Pay transaction. And that's the part that I think isn't being highlighted the way that it could be.
Yep. Every single transaction is a one-time number.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
I use Apple Pay actually for two reasons, and security is not one of them. Because you mentioned the skimmer, and that's probably where it came from. The hack. All I could say about that is every credit card company now will give protection against any kind of fraud. It's happened to us a few times where it was a skimmer at the Mac machine and the gas station twice. And so my best advice is call your credit card company, make sure they have the protection in case your credit card does get stolen. But the convenience of Apple Pay is really there. That's definitely why I use it. It's just so much easier to use the phone or the watch. And the other thing I like about it is the transaction list or alerts that you get when you make that purchases, because it just kind of confirms that the payment that you thought you were about to pay is accurate and came through. So
you mean the alert on your watch?
It comes on your phone.
Or on your phone.
Yeah.
I do not get one on my phone.
I do.
Maybe, are you using Apple Card as well?
I don't. I do occasionally, but not on that. I
Not
use
on that?
It's an American Express. I don't know if it's a feature of a notification on American. I'll have to check.
Oh, it's probably the MX
It's
app. 'cause
probably
I think
the MX card.
app does that for mine too.
It's possible, that it goes through, but But I think it also does that on my Bank of America.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to check too. But anyways, you could go into the wallet app and look under transactions, and you'll see the list of transactions going underneath, and that's what usually pops up.
We can sit here and talk all night long about how secure Apple Pay is and how convenient it is, and it doesn't matter. It straight up doesn't matter until you get more businesses actually supporting contactless payment. You're not going to see increased use of Apple Pay or Samsung Pay or Google Pay or whatever pay service it is that you want.
It's coming
And
though.
the NFC.
And the reason why it's coming is because the Stripe is being phased out.
It's being
here in
removed.
America.
MasterCard.
It doesn't matter.
And America doesn't have the chip and pin system like the UK did.
Right.
So that means all the
things.
And this means that all the terminals that are here that don't accept chip and pin or the chip here in America need to upgrade their systems. And I guarantee anybody upgrading a system today is going to include Apple Pay or NFC payments, because anything you buy
just because
today,
their terminals include the feature doesn't mean that the retailer is going to activate them. I can go into multiple retailers today, and I know where you're going. Chances are they will. I say chances are they won't.
For what reason?
Not here in California.
They don't care. They don't want to pay for it.
I don't think they pay for it. I think they actually get.
I mean, I don't know what their logic is, but the number of retailers here that I encounter throughout Colorado that have brand new terminals that can support any type of payment you can imagine have not enabled contactless payment, and they have no intention of doing so.
In California,
I haven't seen anything like that, but
welcome to Colorado.
I don't notice. I couldn't walk into a store and say, "Hey, Fred, is that a new terminal?" Yeah, I don't know if they get new terminals, at all. But anything that looks fairly new, and most places are upgrading all the time to new terminals, and we got places that didn't.
But you don't have to turn any of that stuff on. That's the thing. Like Home Depot got all new terminals less than a year after they had that like truly appalling data breach of like any piece of information that you ever gave Home Depot about anything got leaked to like the web at large, and they got brand new terminals less than a year later, and you still to this day cannot use Apple Pay in a Home Depot.
Because I think they have I think they have some kind of partnership with PayPal, because everything that on their terminals are linked to either a credit card or a PayPal thing.
But
and that's
in other places where those terminals are in effect, I can use Apple Pay. So it's not.
No. I think
that's what he's saying. They have a deal.
Home Depot has a deal with PayPal, and that's why they're doing it, because they just like initially CVS had a deal with that company that went away after a couple months.
They were part. They were. It was
because they're partnered.
It was. They were one of the founders.
That's what called.
So I mean, that's kind of what they do. But if Home Depot says to PayPal, listen, we'll put all your we'll put your button on our cash registers if you give us an X amount. They're going to do it.
And the rest of that sentence, I can tell you is, and that's why I shop at Parkrose Hardware, where they've installed terminals that accept Apple Pay. And I tell them when I'm there, thank you for taking Apple Pay. This is why I shop here.
Do you go to Ace Hardware does too.
Do you go back into Home Depot with your Dales and your Hammer and say, "You could have had my business"?
I have told Home Depot that when
time.
Yeah.
That's what,
but that, I mean, that's the thing. And that's why we need to get the word out here. And because I will constantly, in fact, we had this part of this discussion, I think 2 weeks ago. I will constantly try to use touchless. And if they tell me it doesn't support it, then you just sort of kind of laugh at them and say, why? I mean, you're operating in the 20th century. Mm. You're operating 20th century tech, and you're being taken advantage of by 20th century thieves.
It's money. It's cost.
And offer feedback, like
it's cost to upgrade their stuff.
Yeah, but I do vote with my dollars. Like my first stop is always Parkrose Hardware, and I do everything I can to make sure that I do not end up at Home Depot. And as a result of actively making that decision, I'm at Home Depot way less than I used to be, and this is why.
Well, that Home Depot has that one case, but a lot of places that don't have it don't want to invest the money into new cash registers.
But I'm also, which is fine, and that's their right, and it's my right not to shop there if they're not going to take my money the way I want them to take it.
I don't think they're saying we're not accepting Apple Pay because we hate Apple and we hate people who use Apple Pay. I think it's definitely reasons other than that.
Home Depot has done way dumber things for way dumber reasons, so I'm not surprised. But
and their reasons for not accepting Apple Pay, it doesn't matter. If you're not going to shop at some place that doesn't use Apple Pay, then their reasons are immaterial.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about Apple Pay because this is a Mac show, and the odds are that that pretty much anybody that listens to this show has an iPhone and or an Apple Watch. So this to me is not as much about Apple Pay as it is about secure payment and not getting hacked.
Yeah.
Webb in the chat room brings up an excellent point. Some think you have to use the Apple credit card. You can register just about any credit card with Apple Pay. And you're right. I've got several loaded into my Apple Pay and choose which one I want based on the benefits and, what's current where I'm shopping. But, so I didn't want to go ahead, Joe.
It's kind of surprising. Apple, they haven't really promoted it much. They kind of did when it first came out, when it was really hard to use and not many places. But I don't see
There's
much in the way
commercial. They had the commercial with the security, with the guy following. Well, was that the iPhone or was that the Apple?
No, that was just general security on iPhone.
Security. There's a phone, and I don't know if it's from Verizon itself or branded by Apple, but they show it all the time where they have it's a commercial where a girl's going up to everybody's scurrying through the wallets and it's playing the song, and then this girl walks up to shop at the Apple Watch and things, and I think it says Verizon with Apple, and that's pretty recent, and that's the only one I've seen recently.
Apple does a lot of promotion of Apple Card, but not a lot of promotion of Apple Pay.
I don't see that much of either, but if this statistic is right, which I wonder, Apple must know for sure, and you'd think if it was that low, Apple would be like really wanting to do more education and just we've got a lot of people that have everything needed, and all we have to do is convince them to turn it on. And it's kind of surprising that they don't. Now, here in California, almost every place, Home Depot doesn't have it, as you said, but at this point now, I'm surprised when someplace doesn't have it. Almost every place does. And even like if you go to a drive-through, some of the places actually have the reader on a little stick that they stick out the window. So I remember for quite a long time, people, the cashiers would be, you'd be like, oh, does Apple Pay work? I'm like, oh, I don't know. No one's ever asked that before.
And then the amazement in their face. And then even to this day, it's been.
Yeah, but it's getting pretty rare. Yeah, it happens now, at least once every other week. Of course we do. Yeah.
The other thing I will point out is I'm not seeing a lot of tap to pay, which is technically contactless. I'm not seeing a lot of people hyping that feature. I'm not seeing Samsung Pay out in the streets like, hey, look at what you can do. Just wave your phone at the thing. Like, I'm not seeing a lot of people, and maybe it's just because the actual act of paying for stuff when you buy stuff is boring. I don't know, but it's weird. Like, this is another one of those things where, like, I always like to say, if you swap out Apple for something else, like, is it still a story? And it is. Because I'm not seeing anybody advertising any of this. Like, look how convenient it is in this day and age that you can pay, like in this super convenient fashion.
Well, and not only convenient, nobody here has mentioned there's a pandemic. I don't want to touch anything. I don't want to touch the reader. I don't want to hand my card to somebody. And, with my watch,
and that's another reason why
that's a huge reason. Forget the security financially.
I had retailer
the medical security.
I had a retailer tell me that they're upgrading their equipment just for that. So there's a bunch of companies actually upgrading their terminals because of COVID, because of the touchless.
There's something ironic about that, though. I know when I go down to my coffee shop and I do the watch, I still have to sign their iPad with my finger. So it's not really touchless.
Right.
I've seen places do that, although I think they're not really supposed to, but some places do it
not
anyway.
Supposed to.
Yeah, but some places do it anyway, and it's like, what are you going to do?
True. It's just the one place.
I know they do it with the credit card. Mostly if you pay with an actual physical credit card, you have to sign something.
Well, a lot of times there's a limit, but a lot of places that limit has been raised, and for the pandemic, there were other places that raised it even further.
Well, in the UK, they had a 25-pound limit for a very, very long time, and I think that's now been increased to 100.
for
Yeah.
Apple.
The funny
For a
part
while
is,
now, yeah.
I remember a blog post that was like at least 10 years ago from this guy that decided to, what if my signature is illegible, or then and
What if I
nobody
wrote
questioned it.
CID on my receipt?
Well,
No, you
I
could
think
literally
I
write
think he
anything on there.
eventually wrote like
Anything, yeah.
he wrote something
He
that
drew
was
a
like
picture
a
at one
fraud,
point. I think
fraud
there was like
person, or something like that.
fraudulent
And
signature.
yeah,
I think.
right.
And
The signature actually doesn't matter. Like, I think at this point,
Mhm.
legally, they don't, not
Yeah.
legally, but nobody checks and they're fine with that. The only reason it ever comes back is if there's, dispute. But, generally that doesn't really happen that much.
We want to move on because we have other things to get to. But
Toys.
I wanted to get I wanted to get this. In fact, I got so wound up about it that I forgot to introduce everybody. They sort of all introduced themselves at this point, but there are a couple that haven't. So I'll make sure that I have lower thirds in for them as they come on board. But thank you guys all for being here, and thank you for such a spirited discussion. But it's something that really, when it hits, it's one thing to sit here and talk about it academically and as Apple enthusiasts. It's another one when it hits you, right square in the wallet, and you realize that this is something. And to whoever's point it was, I've never had one of my Apple Pay transactions questioned, challenged, nothing. So it works. It works.
From a general security perspective, I just want to put one last thing in there because Andrew isn't here to pipe up with this thing, which is the one that he likes to use a lot, which is privacy.com, which has a service where you can spin up, much like an Apple Card, you can spin up disposable card numbers. So you can have a card number that you only use at the gas station, Chuck. And then if something funny goes on with that card number, you just burn it and you get a new card number that can only be used at the gas station or whatever. And, if you only ever use that number at Amazon and you get a funny Amazon charge, you can, burn it. Or if somebody tries to use it someplace that is not Amazon, it won't work. So privacy.com offers that service. And that's, I know that's one that Andrew really likes and uses very extensively.
How does that work someplace like a gas station where you need a physical card?
That's a separate conversation that we can have later, but we have other stuff to talk about. So,
yeah, we'll get Andrew on to give us a primer on that one, Jim. That's good. And Jay, one last thing.
What did I do?
Jay put in our private chat.
I didn't say anything the whole time.
Yeah, I know, but to the person that stole Chuck's card, I hope your goldfish jumps out of its bowl, lands on your pillow, and poops.
It's a
Thank you, Jay.
Specific. I like it.
I like it. That a curse from Jay Miller to whoever you are out there. So
It's the first thing I do when I land on a pillow.
Yeah, I didn't
Look
need
for
to know that
goldfish
guy.
poop.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
and it's
imagine
still
telling the
fish
doctor how you got pink eye and you're just like, my goldfish.
This explains
All right.
so much.
Moving on. So you heard the introduction, guys. I want to know what would cause you to pull your credit card out. And since we haven't heard from Brittany at all on anything, I'm going to start with her. Brittany, what would cause you to whip your credit card out and buy something after Tuesday's event?
Well, this is partly fear of next year. So I'm probably going to be getting an iPhone mini again because I need it to last until they make another one, and it might not be next year. So that's probably just a thing I have to do. And financially send the message that some of us are passionate about it. But other than that, it doesn't sound like it's going to be this year. I don't need a new watch. I got one last year, but if there's new health metrics, then I sort of can't say no to that. I am sort of a bio geek and I can't help it. I'm going to try to hold off on a new computer if they were announced, which I don't think they're going to be. Just for money's sake. So I'm actually kind of hoping that they get it right and I can do it later, and not all right now.
So, but what I guess, would it just be a new phone that is the tempting thing, or would there be a feature that says, Oh my God, yes, I absolutely have to upgrade.
It's possible it could be so lame that I say no. Like that's a possibility. But it's mostly I would like the latest processor in a phone that fits in my hand.
Okay. Interesting.
It's a pretty low
qualification.
bar. If I thought they were going to make one next year, I wouldn't be as amped up about it.
Okay. Jim Ray, what would cause you to jump your credit card out?
I don't know. I'm still rocking an iPhone 8. So I don't know, maybe Touch ID and no inset and a pony. I'm with Jay. Jay said in the chat he wasn't that excited. Who knows? Maybe they'll have something, but I'm not like, oh my gosh, I need a new phone, and I haven't. Obviously, I'll probably, like usually the last couple of years, I look at the presentation and go like, ooh, that's cool, but then I never do anything. So, and I'm not going much of anywhere. So, I use my iPad more than my phone these days.
Okay. Guy, you were also not super verbal in the earlier discussion. So what do we need to tempt you? And you're muted. So the first thing you want is an unmute button.
I knew that. I was testing everyone. I'm still on the iPhone SE2 and I'm still pretty happy with it, but my wife's phone is starting to die and she likes that much smaller form factor. So if it's a new iPhone, I may give her my iPhone 2 and get something for myself, whether it's an iPhone 12 Pro or maybe even a brand new one. The other thing I'm kind of looking forward to seeing is the next generation Mac Mini or Mac Mini Pro or whatever the heck they're going to call the one with the M1X or M2. I'm still using the M1 and I'm still very happy with it, but I would be sorely, sorely tempted by an M1X or an M2, depending on its specifications. Those are the two things that would probably make me reach into the wallet and buy something. My iPad is a 2018. I've got AirPod Pros or darn it, what are they called? Is that it? AirPod? I keep forgetting all my nomenclature.
Which one?
Mm-hmm.
The
AirPod
earbuds. The earbuds.
AirPod 3.
Pro.
Yeah,
The Pro.
Yeah, I have some AirPod Pros and they're fine when I'm able to use them, which isn't that often because they don't seem to work with my Mac Mini. But other than that, almost all the gear I have is working great. So, I'll hold off unless there's something that like really, if Apple comes out with a microphone, I'm right there. But other than that, I'm pretty good with everything.
You're really right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apple boom arms.
Guy is beta testing Apple microphones.
I wish. Come on, Apple.
Condenser.
Pull your finger out. No, dynamic. Dynamic all the way.
That's right. I know.
Okay, Frank, I know you've been dancing back and forth with new machines, old machines, refurbished machines. What would cause you to actually make a decision and go one direction or the other?
Well, I haven't been so much dancing as tossing them. But right now, I'm leaning for what I need really holds up with the iMac M1. But as there's going to be at least, I'm willing in either October or November be another event. I just want to wait through this whole thing and see what has come out. And, before Christmas, I'll make a decision. I just have to set the cutoff there. I still want to see what they have. There may be something hidden away that, we don't know about. Or a little tweak to something.
Okay. Jeff Gamet, no one has brought up the Apple Watch yet.
Funny you should pick on me then, because I was going to say, let's talk about the Apple Watch and what Apple needs to put on it to get me to replace my Series 5.
Okay.
And the idea of a new form factor is intriguing, but not a reason for me to buy a new Apple Watch. What would be intriguing enough to get me to buy a new Apple Watch would be a significant enhancement in the health tracking features. So I would love to see the non-invasive glucose monitoring that has been rumored, but I don't think is ready yet. So that's probably a couple years off still. But Apple can do more with blood pressure monitoring, and we already know that the gait tracking thing is coming, but that's software. So I don't need to get a new Apple Watch just for that. But if Apple can give us new features that build on these concepts and give us more data that we can track ourselves from our wrist, then I could see where that could push me into going ahead and dropping money on a new Apple Watch.
How about anything else beyond the Apple Watch? Since I picked you on you for the watch, but is there anything else with any other of the probable announcements?
With the probable announcements, we have, of course, we're going to hear new iPhones. But man, the iPhone 12 is such a nice phone that I have a hard time imagining what Apple could do with a new iPhone that would make me think, well, crap, now I need to buy this. If they could do something that really changes how we approach AR and VR on our phones, like significantly changes that. So it doesn't feel like this kind of kludge where we're just holding a little glass rectangle up and saying, "Ooh, look at the extra thing I can see now." I could see where that would be a very compelling thing. So maybe my iPhone becomes a tool that I can do proper 3D modeling with. That would be really interesting. Yeah, but I mean, at this point, I feel like we're at the point with this technology where what we're talking about are processor performance improvements. And then we're talking about camera improvements, and 3D stuff, I think, fits into the camera improvement things. And then speaker improvements and microphone improvements. I don't think we're at a place with the technology right now where Apple could turn around and do something that's radically different and really shocks us. And people are stepping back thinking, holy crap, how are they doing this with a phone? Like we had when the iPhone first came out. So we're not at the revolutionary new feature phase. We're at the let's accumulate enough features on new models until we get to the point where people are like, oh, okay, now this is different enough from the model I have for me to want to buy something new. I guess that's my long-winded way of saying, if you show me some crazy-ass awesome AR, VR stuff that goes way beyond what we're doing on smartphones today, I would find that very compelling.
Interesting. Okay. Warren, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I already, so this morning I went on one of those online selling sites that I put all my stuff on the site. So these online things give you 30 days basically to act on it, and they'll give you the better price on your trade-ins now because after the products are released, they go down in price. So advice to anybody who's like me and kind of buy stuff, if you have something you want to sell, it's worth more, I think, is where I go to. And they are really good, but I'm not endorsing anybody. They're all similar. But anyways, you go there, you put in what you got, and they'll give you a price, and you could say yes. And basically, when you're ready to do it, you ship it to them with the label they give you. But if you don't, there's no commitment. So if you decide not to do it, they don't care. So I did that. As far as the Apple Watch goes, I'll get it for the same reason I got the 5 or the 4 because it looks different, and I don't want people to know I don't have the newest model. So that's why I'm going to get the 7, I think. As far as the phone goes, Jeff says, Apple needs to show him something, special, but they do it every year. So like every year we say the same thing. Well, they can't do anything with the next version, blah, blah, blah. And then next week we're all going to be like, well, there you go. They said what I want. So I'll trade that phone in for the new one as well. What I've been looking forward to, obviously, there's no secret, is the new MacBook Pros, the 14 and 16 inch ones. I would go with a 16 if it wasn't crazy. I love my MacBook Air with the M1. I would love my MacBook Air with the M1 if it was 16 inches even more. We'll see what this does. But I don't think that's going to come up either. And AirPods don't excite me. And I like the Pros so far. I don't see anything going to be improved too much with those. And that's pretty much it. We'll see where it goes.
Not iPad Mini 6.
Yeah, that's like that's a sketchy rumor. But if it does come out and it is 7 inches, if it looks like an iPhone Pro 12 Max and it's bigger, I would buy it because that's pretty sweet.
Chuck, I need to revise my what I would buy list. If Apple releases a new iPad Mini, I will buy it. I don't care what the features are. I will buy it.
Well, the last one looked exactly just. I mean, they all look the same, and they all
don't care. Give me a new one. I will buy it.
Okay.
Okay. So, Jeff, that's a pretty broad statement. Why would you buy a new one without discussing feature sets or whatever? Well, let's start this way. Do you have an iPad Mini now?
I do. Actually, okay. I have 2. And
okay, so
my most recent one is an iPad Mini 4.
Okay, and so what would bring you to a new iPad Mini almost regardless?
Well, the fact that they actually ship it. Seriously, that would be good enough for me. But the fact that I get something with an improved screen compared to the 4, something that has a faster, more powerful processor than what I currently have, something that has updated, modern Wi-Fi in it, and then give me Face ID and a USB-C connector on that thing. We're done.
Well, the iPad Mini 5 is almost all that except for the Face ID and the...
I know, it's so close. It is so close. But, when there are some products that when I say I want it, I don't want the version that's almost what I want. I want the damn thing that I want. And the current iPad Mini isn't what I want. But whatever the next one is, I can pretty much guarantee that I don't even need to look at the spec list. It's what I want. It's going to have an M series processor. It's going to be this incredibly awesome thing, and people will be like, "But you're reading books." Yeah, there's more that I do with it.
So you think it's going to be an iPad Mini Pro?
I can live in hope.
I would think it wouldn't have an M1 processor, and it would probably have the Touch ID rather than the Face ID.
At this point, that doesn't even matter.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a better processor than what you have now, and a bit, like you said, a better screen and better Wi-Fi. I don't know about USB-C. I'll bet it has Lightning.
I would hope it has USB-C, but the iPad Mini 5 is almost what I want. Whatever they announce next, that's what I want.
Well, they've already. I mean, if they can squeeze an M1 into an iPhone, putting it into an iPad Mini, I don't think it'd be that big of a deal.
What iPhone has an M1?
I didn't say they did. I said if they do.
the iPad Mini would be not cheap anymore if they did all that. So that's going to be the issue. Are they going to make a cheap? Are they going to make a really expensive small iPad? Is what it's
The
going to come down.
iPad Mini hasn't been the cheapest one for a long time.
It
No,
wasn't.
it has not.
No, but it wasn't because it was legacied over with the original price when the new iPads dropped with their lower base brand.
I've been watching it carefully, not because I give a rip about an iPad Mini, but because I wanted Apple to be experimenting with the idea of I care about the form factor more than the price. And as a person who likes many phones and is happy to pay a max price for it,
It's
I
a
just want it to fit in my hand.
It's a
Like,
legacy
it's something I've
price.
watched.
It's something like in their old catalog that they're not going to change anything with. The only it's sort of like the HomePod before they decided to actually discontinue the line, and that's the only reason they made the price difference because they had to liquidate them out.
It also
this
didn't
is-
have a lower capacity, but like it was stuck at the same capacity, but it wasn't the cheapest. So
Mm-mm.
I've
That's
enjoyed
something-
watching it as like a data point. It's been a fun soap opera for me.
The thing that I'm curious about is was it Brittany, we just looked this up. The iPad or the iPad Air that has the Touch ID in the power button on the top. It's
Yeah, that was
Touch ID in
Air
your finger. Okay, the iPad
in the
Air.
power button.
Like if they did that on the iPad Mini, I feel like that would be really compelling because you could maximize the bezel, you would get more space on the screen, and if you have Touch ID but it's on the top, you don't have to carve out for the notch, and that might be handy.
They could do those things, but the fact is
Mhm.
there are people who are dedicated to that form factor who will buy a new one because it's a new processor and it needs nothing else different.
Right.
It would
Yeah,
sure
there
be
are
nice
people
if they
who-
change some things, but if that's the
Mhm.
form factor you love, then
But I think that would be a thing that might have a certain amount of appeal because then you'd get more screen real estate that way because you don't have to worry about navigating around either the home button or the Face ID notch. And maybe that's something that could make it worth trying to rejigger the iPad Mini into something a little bit newer, give it a newer give it the iPhone 12 processor and a nice screen and Touch ID on the top so that it's, a 7-inch device or 7.5-inch device or whatever, and do something a little more interesting that way. I think that would be good.
I read something that the issue that they have with the mini iPad with a full screen is holding it, because if you think about it, a big phone you could hold with one hand around the edges.
Mhm.
A big iPad is pretty much propped on a desk. With the mini iPad, the lip and the top part and the bottom part is a space where you're not actually holding part of the screen, and it's becomes an issue as far as holding covering the screen while you're holding it, smudging it while you're holding it, things like that. So I don't know. That's
Jay, I want to get you in here because you've been throwing every product imaginable into the private chat. And
But
so,
that's the problem, is everything that I've thrown in there has not been leaked, is not coming, and Apple does not care about. So at the same time, it's like this event I will probably not even watch it. But there is one thing that I was thinking about that will get me to possibly spend some money. Way back in WWDC, we talked about there felt like something was missing and that it was probably going to be announced at a later date, and that was professional apps on iOS. If they talk about a new device like an iPad and say that it's powerful enough that it can run Logic or Final Cut, in fact, they brought it to the platform, I might spend some money.
Well, the M1 iPad can now. It's just a question of
But it
is
doesn't.
going to run on the
Yeah.
Will they either convert it to iPad OS, or will they have that device run the Mac OS or some hybrid?
I'm not worried about all that. I just want them to bring the tools that I use on the Mac to the iPad so that I can use my iPad for more than a teleprompter. And then I'll probably buy a new
You're
iPad.
absolutely right. Apple really, really, really needs to bring their Pro apps to the iPad. Yeah,
Last I heard, the beta, the iPad OS 15 beta was still capping third-party apps for the RAM usage, way below what you can get in an M1 iPad.
I heard they were choosing certain people they were allowing, but the rest they were keeping at 5.
I don't know about that. I just heard some developers complaining, but this was earlier in the beta season, and then I went off Twitter for 3 months. So
until they say Pro apps on the iPad, I'm just going to go with the most logical thing on my gigantic list of things that I've been joking about, which is an Apple bracelet that works like a Fitbit and can act as a security fob being the thing you have. Why not?
Okay. Okay. Well, all right. We'll keep the discussion going. David, because I'm going in reverse order on my screen in case anybody wonders how I'm picking this.
Yeah, I live in iPhone. I upgrade every year, so it's a no-brainer. You know, everybody on this panel knows I'll have the new iPhone, so I'm on the iPhone upgrade program like you are, Chuck, and I upgrade every year. So regardless of what 13 has, I mean, it's gonna. I want to know about it. I want to be immersed in it. See every year is something new with Apple. So when it comes to that. As far as the Apple Watch goes, I have the Series 6, so that's pretty new. I had it less than a year, so maybe close to a year.
I found this on the web,
and Apple Watch said that too. I didn't even say the S lady either. But it would be compelling if it had the glucose monitoring, the blood pressure monitoring, a lot of that stuff. I would consider it. I have the 2020 M1 iPad Pro, so I'm happy with that. iPad Mini, albeit a little compelling because of its size. I don't know if I would really find any need for it other than having another toy, which I don't need. And it is a 10-step program, Judge Guy, because I do have problems. No, I don't. I like it, and that's the way it is. Macs, if Macs were to come out, I've got the M1 Mac Mini. I'm fine with it. My 2019 MacBook Pro is still chugging along here. I know it's Intel, but I'm probably going to wait until next year to see where the Macs are at that point. Because I'm not anywhere near ready for that, so my wallet's not opening for that. But yeah, I think iPhone's probably going to be my primary device.
Okay. I'm not sure if you're the first person to mention Macs, but you were the first one that really sounded like you were having that high on your list. So
usually, I mean, I would buy them if I was ready, but financially, I don't want to really do it right now. I think what I've got is working great. The M1 Mac Mini is great. I got sitting on my desk. I use that in my MacBook Pro, and I'm happy with it.
Okay. As we do this round of things, last but not least, Kelly, what would cause you to pull your credit card out?
They'd have to try real hard. I'm always interested because I like to see where Apple is and where things are going. Like, we saw LiDAR come to the iPad Pro, and it was spectacular and amazing, and like nobody's doing anything with it. So then they put it in the iPhone 12, and I still don't see anybody doing anything with it. So like last year,
regular users aren't. My brother uses it.
I'm not seeing even in a concept, like look at this really amazing video of something super cool somebody's doing with LiDAR. Like I'm not seeing even that stuff go around to see that like anybody actually is using it for stuff. So I'm glad to hear that, but I'm not seeing like the
consumers.
Of it or
no,
anything.
There's not
like,
really
on any level. I'm not seeing a lot of that. So last December, I pulled the trigger on an M1 machine because they finally stopped shipping that melon farming keyboard, and so I decided to get a new computer right about the time they said the new processors were coming. So I decided to just wait and get an M1 as my machine. So I did that. Last year, work bought me an iPhone 12 and so a 12 Pro. So I'm super happy with my phone. So I got a new phone 2 years in a row, which doesn't normally happen. So I'm interested in what the new one does, but I'm not interested in upgrading. And maybe a watch. I have a new iPad that I got earlier this year, so I'm not super interested in an iPad. I want to be interested in a mini, but not being infinitely wealthy because I'm not the one that installed the skimmer at Chuck's gas station. I don't have cash to blow on a new iPad. Otherwise, I'd really like to. The Apple Watch has a certain amount of appeal, but again, it would have to really stand out in some particular way for it to be something that I'm going to pick up. So I think my Apple Card is pretty safe this go around, relatively, unless they do something spectacular that I just don't that I'm totally not expecting.
I come over more and you touch my phone.
Maybe, but only maybe. So because the small phone is really nice. If they would put the big camera in the small phone, I'd buy more of them. So I'm curious if we're gonna get we continue to get these like attempts at next gen AirPods Pro rumors. We still haven't seen that happen. We still haven't seen next gen regular AirPods happen. So there's not I'm not seeing anything that gives me a lot of excitement, I guess, like even in the rumor side for what's going to come down the pike. Mostly what I want out of it is definite information. Here's the day iOS 15 comes out. Here's the day macOS 12 comes out. Here's what we're getting with that. And I really want for there to be something super fantastic in all of this, but I can't figure out what it would be. And we haven't seen enough rumor stuff about what the new things might be to make it to make it something that makes me go, ooh, yeah, if they really do go that way, that's a thing that I want to find out more about.
Okay. So let me bring the chat room in because I haven't been ignoring you folks, so we just want to get through the panel. So let's see. First of all, Cletus is in the chat room. Hello, Cletus. He says M2 chips. He would like to see a TrueSat phone because he's from Florida. Let's see. He also asked Jeff, and I'm not sure what he was referring to during your comments. He asked for gaming. So I'm not sure if that's the iPad mini we're talking about or not. Cletus, if you can clarify that.
I bet Cletus is talking about iPad mini. Yeah, iPad mini is a nice little casual gaming device.
It's just a little bit bigger than the Nintendo Switch.
It's a sweet size for so many things, or it hits the sweet point for so many things with its size. Excellent ebook reader, great for gaming. It's a really handy travel device. You can do email on it easily. You can do messaging on it easily. If the screen's big enough to use as a functional web browser, and it's small and it's lightweight, and except for mine because the batteries are so old, really good battery life.
Brad says the rumors for the MX1 are disappointing. The M2 should take better advantage of the available cooling of the enclosure. Craig says pencil support for the iPad mini. That's a really interesting one, Craig.
Yeah.
And I bet Jeff would agree with that one.
Oh, yeah.
Cletus would like to see the phone price down a little bit. Webb had asked if anyone's in the iPhone upgrade program. I know, David, you had talked about that. I am too. Apparently he is as well. And let's see. And Cletus says, my phone is possible, but it's time for a new machine. And Cletus also says he would like to see VR for home stuff. Lots of uses.
I think the pencil does work with the iPad Mini 5. Just as an FYI. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. There you go. I don't have an iPad Mini 5. So Jim asked me to, talk about mine. And so, yeah, so to try to go around the watch, I'm very happy with my 6. I want to see what the new 7 would bring. If it does bring some of the health capabilities now or later, even if the sensors are just there and not turned on yet, that would probably, get me to come to upgrade. One thing I would love to see, and this is completely off the wall, but I did a search on Google for rectangular watches. And there are a lot of rumors going around about there being a bigger watch this time. And what I can't figure out, and I'm going to use my phone to demo, why instead of, constantly making it bigger on your wrist, why don't they angle it this way? Because I've got a lot longer arm than I have thickness on my wrist. And I know at least 2 people in my life that are still using the very, very early small Apple Watch faces and Apple Watches because they don't want that big, almost deck of cards hanging on their wrist. So, Apple, go rectangular instead of just constantly going big. The phone, I personally would love to see. Here we go again. I would love to see Apple add yet one more camera to the phone that would be in permanent landscape mode, so that even if you take your picture like this, you get a landscape video. Is that too much to ask? Apparently so.
That'd be almost
Probably.
anamorphic.
I mean, honestly,
What, Kelly?
it might be. Honestly, I mean,
Yeah.
USB-C charging on a new phone is apparently too much to ask as well, and I don't get why, but here we are.
Yeah, I just have a thing about vertical videos. I just feel like it wastes so much space that you could be capturing the action of what's going on out there. Let's see what else. I'd like to see the mini GoPro, the mini GoPro, not the GoPro camera, with a much, much better camera in the mini, because I think that would be a phenomenal thing for videographers that to cut down on the price of the screen, but have a bigger screen than is in your iPhone and have a better camera. Might not have to be the 12 camera, that quality, but if they could, that would be really great. Because the one thing I have not seen ever mentioned in any of the iPhone or iPad mini rumors is a better camera. It just is. It's not that they say it's going to be anything less. It's just totally silent on the issue, and I can't figure out why that isn't something that more people wouldn't take advantage of. And finally, just to riff on some of David's stuff, I don't know that we'll see Macs at this announcement, but I'm anxious to see what a new 16-inch MacBook Pro would bring, because even though I have an M1 MacBook and really love it, there are limitations to it, and including the ability to drive multiple monitors, which I know, Kelly, is something you had mentioned, I think, in our Slack channel, that you like dual monitors, and the M1 will only drive one extra monitor.
That's correct.
So there's some things that would cause me to take a good hard look at doing some upgrades. And let's see, more comments from the chat room. Rich says he still has a Mini 2, which is great for ebooks. And Brad says the current iPod Mini does in fact support the first generation Apple Pencil, similar to the current full-size
First
iPad.
generation. But I want second generation. Every time I have
Who doesn't?
to plug seriously, yeah. Every
Are
time
you
I have to
talking
plug
about my generation?
we are
Talking
yes.
about your
Every time I plug my first gen Apple Pencil into my 10-inch iPad Pro to charge it up, part of my soul dies.
It sounds dirty.
It's a delicate situation. You don't know what's going to break first, either the pencil or the pencil breaks the iPad Mini,
Or my soul completely.
or your
breaks.
soul.
Yeah. It's a horrible, horrible design. And And no kidding, back in the before time when it was safe to hang out in coffee shops a lot, if I was in a coffee shop working on something on my 10-inch iPad Pro with the first gen Apple Pencil and the pencil stopped working because I'd forgotten to charge it, I just stopped using the pencil. I would rather not be able to do what I need to do than have to plug the pencil into the side of my iPad and sit there and deal with the ridicule that I get from everyone around me as they see the Apple Pencil sticking out of this. No, I just won't go there.
They're too busy writing screenplays.
They are. Yeah.
Jeff, I've
Nonetheless.
never looked into this, but is there such a thing as any kind of power pack that you could, an external power pack that you could plug the Apple Pencil into?
Well, the first gen Apple Pencil, at least originally, I don't know if it still does, shipped with this little adapter thing that you could pop on the end of the pencil and then plug it directly into a lightning cable.
Yeah.
And charge it that way.
And I've seen things on Amazon that are kind of like, that make it a little more elegant too. I've seen like a dedicated charger for a pencil, but nothing
Which is
from Amazon.
great. Yeah. But how much more elegant at this point can we get than take your pencil, stick it to the side of your iPad?
Yeah.
There is no step 3.
Yeah. It gets lumped in with the charging the mouse on the mouse side of the mouse.
Yeah, what were they thinking?
More importantly, why are they still thinking it? Because that's the current iteration of the mouse. Can you really not do better?
It's
like,
Apple
at all, really?
Yeah, Apple does not know how to make a mouse.
No, we can add that to my list of things I'd buy. A brand new Magic Mouse that actually was like MagSafe chargeable.
It's basically Apple saying, listen, we know the design's stupid, but it lasts forever and it only takes 10 minutes to charge. Suck it up, is what they're saying.
I think more what they're saying is that they're unable to admit defeat. Like, this was a terrible idea and we missed it because literally no one at Apple uses a mouse apparently, and nobody went, what do I do when it's dead and I need to charge it?
Flip it over like a turtle and then use it as a void conf test.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I mean, like, all anybody does the rest of the time is apparently, move to the other mouse. I guess you just rotate through them as the battery dies. I don't know,
they throw it in. They throw it in with the Mac
pad, so this is an immaterial conversation for me.
Right. So nobody really buys a mice out from Apple normally, and they throw it in the box when you buy an iMac. So like to them. Well, yeah, but to them it's not worth it. Like they admit defeat with the Apple keyboard, and if the rumors are right, with the touch bar being gone. But they for this they're like, it's a mouse. Nobody buys it really, and we throw them in anyways. So
just remember, after they went with Magic keyboards, they went to butterfly mechanisms. I don't want a butterfly mouse.
No, you don't.
I have bought the mouse. I bought this one. I haven't gotten any, and I do not understand the intense hate for this thing. It runs for 2-3 months, and then like when I'm in the shower or eating dinner, I plug it in for an hour, and I'm good for another 2 or 3 months. I don't
mouse or taking a shower.
So anyway, I do not ever.
Should you be confessing you shower with your mouse on the internet, Jim?
I do not ever want to use a mouse with a wire on it ever again.
I mean,
so I would not, if it plugged in on the end, I still wouldn't. I would still go off and do something else while it charged. So
they got the MagSafe now. Well, make it MagSafe compatible now. Just throw it, instead of plugging in, just throw it on a MagSafe adapter.
I just checked the MagSafe adapter is a little too wide for the mouse. Like they'd have to make MagSafe smaller. Which I mean, hey, that's on my list as well.
Or make the
mouse wider.
What about just a Qi charger, or like a typical Qi charger? It should
Yeah,
work.
I'm not saying it couldn't be better, but people just like hate the thing, and they make so much, like this is the worst thing Apple made. No, it's
No.
fine. Well, no, I definitely see people that are like, this is an example of Apple is just so messed up, and I don't see that. It's perfectly fine. It's I've been
People have
using
a
one
flair
for
for the dramatic, for one thing, but for another, I think it's just nobody can believe that Apple, a company known for its creative implementation of anything that makes it smoother, easier, Apple Pay, close the rings on your watch, all the kinds of stuff that Apple does that makes it easier to interact with technology. Like, this feels like a conscious decision to make that interaction more difficult, which seems to go against everything we've been told Apple believes in for all these years. So I think that might be part of it. I don't know.
Well, they didn't want to put the connector on the end. They wanted to hide the connector. As Joni Ive wants everything, as thin as possible. And,
Make a new mouse, make it USB-C. I'll buy one of those. How's that? I'll switch teams if you give me a mouse where I don't have to be offended by the charging mechanism.
I don't care if you use a mouse or not, but, I just don't, I've regularly see like there'll be a Twitter thread or something, and there'll just be all these people like, oh man, Apple's so messed up. They're so screwed up. They're so screwed up. This is the dumbest thing ever. And it's like, no, I don't think so.
To be fair, this mouse is only the dumbest mouse since the last mouse they made. Remember the Hockey Puck mouse? I mean,
this is nowhere near as dumb as that.
Oh, it's dumb. Yeah.
No, the Hockey Puck mouse. No, the Hockey Puck mount was not usable.
It was weird, but I could do it. You can't use this one if it's
this
charging.
Is getting heated. The heated mouse will be.
But I'm going to go make popcorn. I'll be right back.
Chuck's putting a stop to this.
Yeah, I am stopping.
I'm out. Like that was it. Like at least that
Kelly,
one I could use. That's it.
We're arguing stuff about the decisions that were made by people that are no longer there, and that are ancient history. And Apple has not. The only thing I'm surprised that Apple has not seen fit to change and correct some of those. But on the other hand, they're still selling them and people are choosing them. So, and Jim makes a great point, that they run for months. I'm not a mouse user, so I don't know. But I'm taking Jim as a pretty intense user and it's working for him. So it may not be as bad as a lot of us think it is. It was a terrible design decision, but from a functionality standpoint, maybe not so much. So,
why is it terrible?
Only because, Jim, it's sort of like, I wish my trackpad had an option for me to plug it in an emergency, because the one I have, I can't do that with.
I wish a trackpad I could see using while it was plugged in, but I used a plugged-in wired mouse for 15 years, and I just don't ever want to do that again.
Some of my favorite mice are still wired, which is fine. Like Logitech makes great mice. Microsoft makes great mice. Razer makes a pretty decent mouse from now and then. A lot of gamers still love plugged-in mice because of latency. And it's like, sure, do we care? No, not really. But there are people that still love wired mice. And like you said, the fact that you can have a device that, just like the Apple Pencil, when it's plugged in, it looks stupid and I can't use it. Whereas with my Apple Pencil now, the Gen 2, at least it just sits on top. So it's like it's stored. That's storage position. But I'm not going to store my first gen Apple Pencil just plugged into this, the port of my old iPad, because it's going to break. It's going to mess up. And to me, that's the problem with the mouse. Like, I love my mouse. I use it all the time whenever my trackpad is dead because, it's connected to another computer. But I can't use it when the battery dies, which to me is a design flaw where they could have just put it, they could have just made it a little bit wider. And
so that's the only time. That's the only time it's a bad design, is that a few minutes that you're in the middle of working on something and it dies. And,
I've got this
working on something important and it's dead.
I've got the battery status in the menu bar, so I see it. Like, oh, I've got to charge it sometime in the next month. it's never, I think the lowest I've ever got was like 12%, and it still probably had, a week on it at that point. So, I've never run it to where I couldn't do anything. And
I would just plug it in.
if you,
Just plug it in when you leave every time is what I would do.
well, but I don't need to do it every time. And actually, what I do is when I do plug it in, I plug it in where my iPhone goes, which is on the other side of the room. So I don't even have a wire for it by my computer because it's so rare to need to charge it.
It's a good thing they're going to announce a new mouse at the next event. Oh, wait, no, they're not.
No,
it will be the only thing announced next week.
Yeah.
We don't have any phones. We don't have any iPads. But look,
a new mouse.
Yeah.
Look where the charger goes
with a camera.
I kind of agree, though, that the one reason, the one problem with it is that if I have to stop work sort of like the current state of electric cars, if I have to stop for 20 minutes to recharge my car, on a long trip, well, that's not going to really sit well with me. So, I'm going to use a workaround by not buying that electric car until the range improves. And that's sort of, I guess, my feeling on this. If you can get that many months out of it, though, that becomes a non-issue. If I had to change my trackpad batteries every day, I think I would probably be looking at a wired trackpad.
And if you ever did run it down, you can just plug it in for 5 minutes and then it'll go an hour. So
yeah, but I'm spoiled enough that I want my technology to work for me, and I don't want to have to delay. So
I used to use Logitech mouse, which I loved for a long time, and I just switched because I got the MacBook Pro and it didn't have the port for the little nudgy. And so I didn't want to waste a port on a mouse. So I wanted to go Bluetooth, and the Apple was the only one that I could find that had a good Bluetooth mouse. But, the Logitech was kind of annoying because it had a AA battery in it, and that would die. And then I was like, well, where's the battery? And I'd have to stop right then and, go to the kitchen and get a battery. And that was annoying. So...
So Brad, a couple things. Cletus in the chat room says wired mice are fine on computers. Brad says it's a problem. You can't use the Magic Mouse 2 while it's charging, and the Mac drops power on USB when it goes to sleep. Something I didn't really know. So you have to keep the Mac awake to charge the mouse keyboard, or use a powered hub that is always on.
Oh, I don't plug it into my computer, so.
Yeah, so there you go. Interesting. So chat room, let us know you've made a couple hints along the way, but is there anything that you all want to see in the next Tuesday's announcements? I'd
Such
really
a
like
nice
to know.
way of saying chat room. Let us know what you want us to fight about next.
Well, I don't know if there's any fighting going on here. They're just healthy disagreements.
Yeah, can we do a pre-show where we predict what they're about to announce and then all laugh at ourselves when we were nowhere close to what they announced?
Well,
I already have a podcast where I do that. I don't need to do another.
Yeah, I was going to say
we should do a show where we announce ridiculous things and see who gets closest to an actual announcement.
Without going over.
I think my prediction of an Apple microphone is
without going over
the winner.
Yeah.
No. They're going to release that Mac pizza box that they use in Cupertino.
I think it was a Mac Pro Wheels was the one that got everybody a couple of years ago.
Mac doorbell.
It's the new MacBook Pro with USB-C charger built into the lid. So when you charge your computer, you have to close the lid and turn it upside down.
I do predict that they will announce a device with a microphone in it.
Well,
You don't say.
Well, good, Jim. Thank you.
Way to go out on a
MacBook
limb
Pro.
there,
I feel
Jim.
so much better now.
A MacBook Pro with a brand new adapter that magnetically charges your MacBook. Oh, wait, I feel like I've heard of that before.
That's crazy talk, Jay. No one would ever come up with something like that.
Oh, man. Tuesday,
Power
Webb says
magnetically.
Tuesday's announcements, I predict, will be the iPhone only. but maybe the Apple Watch. October will be any Mac announcements.
Yeah.
We're going to
They
get a
will
new
announce-
iPod.
They will announce
There you
that things are going to be late because of the chip shortage.
Yes, we're going to get
Oh, boy.
announcements, but it's going to be, November. Yeah.
Way
think
to,
we're going to
way
get
to go out on a limb there, Jay.
we're going to get an RC candidate, I think, next week.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Winter shortcut's going to work.
Well, I'm hoping universal access is in this RC thing.
Brittany, I
I'm still
can answer
waiting
that
for an
question for
RC
you.
Cola.
And it's, I
Universal
can
access
answer
is
that.
out.
I have an answer to Brittany's question. Winter shortcut's going to work, and that's January.
Really? Because
So-
I was going to guess like
two?
maybe October 2022.
No, I'll give it January. I'm feeling optimistic.
Heck
Are they
with
going to do the
shortcuts. What about Siri?
24-hour? Are they going to do the 24-hour iOS announcement that made everybody mad like it did last year?
Oh,
No.
and by the way, iOS 14 is out now. Go get it, kind of thing. Is that it?
Yeah.
There was 1,000 developers with their hands up, going, "What? What did he just say? What?
Yep.
What did I just hear?"
That one.
There are
Yeah.
already a lot of developers that are really worried that on the 14th, Apple's going to say iOS 15 on the 15th.
Yeah,
Wow. Hadn't even thought about that yet.
I will not be one of those people that are
Well,
upset.
that's
about
what they did last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that.
And yeah, developers were not happy.
Yeah, that was a big FU to developers, I think. But
There was also a lot of uncertainty happening at that point, too. Like people thought it was going to be way later.
Well, it feels like Brittany, there's a different kind of uncertainty this year with the chip shortages and production questions and everything. I mean, Apple makes these mistakes, and sometimes you can understand how they could make them, and somebody just overlooked some aspect of it, and hopefully they've learned from those things. I mean, I'd like to see them have at least a 2-week lead time on pretty much anything, and that includes shipping hardware.
They're still taking features out.
so, what do they usually do? They announce it on the Tuesday, then they let you order it that following Friday. Is that what they normally? That's in passes, but
There's been bigger gaps
Sometimes.
lately, I think. Like it's
Is there?
been
Been some.
a couple 3 weeks.
It
Yeah.
depends on the product. Like they'll announce and say you can order on Friday, but these other models or versions you can't order for a few weeks.
And that's what they.
Yeah,
think
there's
is gonna
usually
happen with the watch.
something, I feel like.
Yeah.
So the
Well,
story.
and they're
that-
not going to have any choice. They're not going to have any choice. They're just not going to be able to score the chips.
So Kelly, your guy said at Mac Observers, I listened today, Jeff said that the watch is either going to be announced and partially available, like maybe like one or two models, or they're just going to keep it and say no, it's not available until August. Or
Yeah, we're not even gonna
September,
bother.
October.
Yeah. That's sort of what we came down with. And thanks for listening, by the way, Warren.
Hey, no problem.
On availability, because we've been hearing that it might be harder to come by for a number of reasons. So it would either be, like the Sport comes out and like something else. But if you want the stainless or whatever, like those are going to be, like a month or two down the line, or like we're going to get it announced and then like in a month you can go online and order them or something. It'll be definite, but it won't be quite as soon, one or the other. So yeah, because it sounds like there might be some supply issues with that if they talk about the new watch at all, and it's not something that comes later in the year.
It's like Cry Wolf, though. They've been saying we have supply issues for 10 years now. And that's why everybody, goes crazy and gets up at 3 o'clock in the morning and orders. So, now is it really going to be a supply issue? Who knows?
Well, but when you look at the demand, for these products, I mean, it's almost incomparable that they wouldn't have supply issues if any of the products are any kind of
but they do.
or
But
were
they do it
anticipated.
every year. They do just with every product. They said, there's limited qualities, and then you order, you go online, and you'll start seeing the wait times go down and down. To weeks and weeks, and then and this happens all the time. 2 weeks later, the things become in stock at the stores or online, and it happened actually. I forgot what I bought recently or what I saw, but people were still having like a 6 or 8 week it might have been for the last watch, like a 6-week wait time for an order they placed online shortly after launch. Versus, I think I just walked into a store randomly and just bought the watch I wanted. In fact, it was a watch. Well, people were still waiting for the same exact thing for weeks, and people were canceling their order just to go back and go into the store and buy it. So, I mean, they do this a lot. They make it seem like there's limited supply, and they make the panic. They make people like getting FOMO, and it works, and it's been working for 10 years. But this year there are real stories about supply demand, so it could be crazy.
Well, and we had that with the original watch too. Like the original watch was, you had to go through a certain number of hoops to even get your hands on one, and like once you went in the store, like the store helped you place the order or something. Like you had to make an appointment, and there was a whole like dance you had to do. You had to go like get the combination to a safe, and then like open the safe, and there was a password in the safe that you gave to a different guy across town. And and if the parrot on his shoulder doesn't like you, you don't get the color you want. Like I don't even remember.
I do remember that room. They put you in a room to have you try it on. Yeah. I totally remember that.
Like initially with the Apple Watch, we saw this in the first place. So like Apple making a successful product that goes on back order very quickly is not a part that's news. And they've never said like it's a supply chain issue that's causing us to not make enough phones. It's just that people all get iPhone fever every October, and here we are. So that's been going on for as long as forever. No matter how many phones they make, it's never enough for opening weekend or 0 day or whatever you want to call it. But like in this case, it's like legit that like it's that they can't get their hands on the stuff to build watches in an appreciable number is the thing that we're hearing. So I'm thinking that what's going to end up happening is we're going to get like one or two watch models in like a couple, like 2-3 weeks after the event. They'll be open for pre-order. But if you want one of the other ones, it's going to be way down the line. It's going to be November or maybe even December. They'll try and have them out by Christmas, but it'll be one of those. It'll be one of those things where it's like it's a ways off before you get that. If we even talk about it, like we may get a surprise event in like at the end of October or whatever to get all of the new laptops out under everybody's Christmas trees. So I don't know.
To bring the chat room back in, since some of them answered my question. Cletus says computers, phone, medical watch, VR that I have a really specific call for. He also said really great software. Brad says there are rumors that a future iPhone won't have any Lightning nor USB-C port. And he also says reality distortion field. The Macs we announce will not be in stores when you want them. Well, that's pretty easy because I want them in the stores now and they're not announced. Wirelessly.
I can't get in a store, so it doesn't matter if they're in the store or not. So
yeah, exactly. Let's see. Oh, Jim says MagSafe only. I hope the rumor doesn't become true regarding the iPhone Lightning USB. Let's see what else. My goodness, you people are chatty, and my scrolling is not working. Webb says I've been wrong more than I've been right, but I don't see them getting away from the Lightning connector because of CarPlay. I think that's a great point, Webb. I could see them doing so, but they would also have to have a Lightning to USB-C adapter available, which I think those things are already out there.
Well, no, that discussion was that they would have no connector.
Yeah.
That's right.
You need a connector for data or recovery.
Yeah, you need a data. You need it for
basic but courage.
Courage.
You people aren't having courage.
It'll be like the Apple Watch, and every time you want to wipe your phone, it's going to be a 5-hour process to do it because it's all.
Yeah. And wireless CarPlay does not have wide adoption yet, mainly because it's only available OEM in a few models. And I've tried one of the adapters and candidly did not have great luck with it. So, I don't really want to buy a new car just to take care of that.
No courage.
Now we, now we're breaking down into a lot of discussions, including the Cybertruck, which we're not going to get into because it's a whole different thing.
How'd you get there? I don't want to know.
My
If
favorite part
Apple
of
announces the
Cybertruck-
Cybertruck, I'll spend some money.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, my
We're
favorite
gonna
part
hold
of
you to that,
Cybertruck was when it teamed up with Optimus Prime and Bumblebee.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah,
remember
was
that,
a good
yeah.
one.
Tim
On that
Cook
note-
from space, even more so.
On that
On that
note,
note,
we're going to go around the room, let you know where you can find these folks when they're not here abusing me and the facts. And then we're going to get out of here. And we're going to reverse it this time. And in fact, we're not going to reverse it because I didn't do it the first time. So we're going to take my screen as we usually do, and that puts Kelly Guimont up first. Kelly, where can folks find you?
You can find me 5 days a week hosting the Daily Observations podcast over at macobserver.com. You can find me on Twitter as Verso. You can find me on veranisports.co.uk. And you can also find me over at The Incomparable, where I occasionally show up on podcasts there, as well as my own show, I Want My MCU TV. And you can hear me on a recent edition of Clockwise over at Relay FM.
Perfect. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you. We'll see you next Tuesday night for a discussion of what actually does get announced.
I look forward to it.
This should be fun. David Ginsburg, sporting another Macstock shirt.
yep, that's
There
2017.
we go.
Wow.
There we go. Macstock is coming.
You-
This
It's coming. And
Virtual
you
Mac
can
Stock.
find me at In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com. I actually did an interview with Mike Potter. We did it Lakeside. Had a nice time. That episode's going out. I'm going to have it out tonight probably. And then we're also having another show on Thursday with Guy and, of course, Warren is co-host. And so there could be lots. Well,
About that.
well, he may not be able to make it. Okay. News. Okay. So that's okay. YouTube channel, youtube.com/DaveG65. Twitter, DaveG65. And you also find me on the Mac Show on Fridays. And thanks. And I look forward to talking about the real stuff next week.
exactly. Jay Miller, one day I'm going to take the transcript of the private chat we have here, cut out everybody's comments but yours, and just let people see the stream of consciousness that we all enjoy each week.
I mean, I was gonna say, I have no idea what I said. I just kind of blacked out for about 2 hours, and I woke up and someone was talking about Apple buying Elgato. So I don't know.
Yeah. On that, well, no, never mind. Where can people find you, Jay?
You can find me relay.fm/conduit. This week we are talking about being overwhelmed. So yeah, tune in there, and that's kind of it.
Great. Thank you, Jay. Warren, where can we approach you if we want to comment on your predictions?
You can find me in Chicago. You can find me in Cleveland this weekend, Dave. That's why I won't be with you. We're taking a nice trip out there. Otherwise, you can find me on the podcast normally with Thursdays with David, In Touch with iOS. Facebook, if you're not crazily averted to it, the Back to the Future page is going to be hopping next week with people saying what they're going to buy and what they're selling and all that good stuff.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank
And I should note that now there's the panel are turning their cameras on and off to just confuse me intentionally, I think. So I'm going to try to get this right. Jeff Gamet, where can folks find you?
Geez, I don't know. I feel like sometimes I need Saint Bernard with a little whiskey barrel running around to find me.
You just want the whiskey.
I really, really do. Yeah, really bad.
He's in the pants aisle at Kohl's.
They have a pants aisle? Anyhow, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm Jay Gamet both places. On YouTube, youtube.com/JGamet. Here on Tuesdays on MacVoices Live. On Thursdays, the big show. On Fridays, the Mac show. And for the whole month of September, I am the interim host on both of those shows because Ewan Rankin is out with a bunch of other stuff. So that's always an adventure. Dave, did I do In Touch with iOS last week? He's muted. He doesn't want to fess up to
Helps
it.
unmute. Yes, you did. You might do it this week too.
Oh, and maybe this week too. Yeah, I might be the Warren stand-in. We'll see. Anyhow, I get around. Google me. I'm easy to find. And Chuck, I always have so much fun hanging out here on Tuesdays.
It is. It's. I except for the fact that I've had to take meds, I absolutely enjoy it.
Maybe the St. Bernard should come visit.
And you didn't share.
Yes.
Drove him crazy.
Did you have to take them now or before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Frank Petrie, where can folks find you?
Well, I'm here on Tuesday nights. I do a monthly review for Screencast Online Magazine, which the September issue just came out. You can find on my blog, ympnow.com, on the tweets at fpetrie, and on Instagram at Frankie, Phranky.
Thank you, Frank.
And begging for money somewhere.
Ah, okay. Well, now the chat room is having a discussion of whiskey, apparently inspired by Jeff's comments. So have at
If Apple announces a whiskey, I'll take my wallet out.
Tesla has one.
Okay.
I mean,
I would give it a shot. I do some research first to see if they're actually making their own or if they're doing what a lot of these branded whiskeys are, which is they go to the distilleries in Kentucky that just do the mass-produced blended whiskeys that you put your own label on.
giving the apple whiskey a shot. I see what you did there.
Welcome to This Week in Whiskey.
The apple whiskey also.
Wordplay.
In all fairness,
the whiskey
Tesla would
doesn't
have
have
a
US
cannabis
report either.
brand if they could get away with it.
Yeah.
I would do it.
Well, they
If
came in here
Apple
in
announces a
Colorado.
cannabis brand,
Okay, so you know
That'd be
that
a
I'm
great
desperate.
find.
You know that I'm desperate, folks. When I go to Guy Serle and say, "Could you please get me out of this and bring me back on track?"
Yeah,
Apple
that's a
bomb.
fail. That's a fail right there.
Guy, where can folks find you?
New email address, publisher@vertshark.com. You can find me at vertshark.com, as well as Vertshark is the YouTube channel. The mymac.com podcast that I've been doing for over 11 years with Gazmaz, as well as my weekly brand of insanity, which is Guy's Daily Drive, where I talk to people, I live cast to people while in my car and driving to work.
Excellent.
Oh, Vertshark and Mac Parrot over there on the Twitters.
Yes.
And you have to do that when you say that.
Okay.
So it's like Vertshark.
Yeah. Vertshark.
Vertshark. Got it.
Do 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 do. Vertshark. Do 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 do. Vertshark. Do 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 do.
Jim Ray, where can folks find you?
Proview.com and at Proview on Twitter. And not on any other podcast because Chuck's the only one that'll have me.
Oh, that's not true.
No, that's absolutely.
It is so
not true.
far.
No, we
Yes.
have we've signed Jim to an exclusive deal here because we value his insight so much. Last but absolutely not least, Brittany Smith, thank you for being here. Where can folks gain more of your wisdom?
Wow, that's a large promise there. You can find me very occasionally tweeting at ADD Liberator as my handle, and slightly more often, the YouTube is also ADD Liberator.
Excellent. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices. Just a quick scheduling note. Strange as this sounds, we have a lot of backed up content right now. So a couple of the shows you may find released They're going to be a little bit longer than normal because usually I take these lengthy discussions and cut them down. But I want to make sure we get all the stuff out so you can enjoy it. And I also want to make sure we get some of the commentary here out before the Apple event. So if things are showing up in your RSS feed or whatever that are just a little longer than normal, just bear with us. We'll be back to normal after we play a little bit of catch up. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.